Hey guys, in this video I will show you how to paint the Deathrattle Skeletons from Games Workshop for Age of Sigmar. I'll be using these for mainly display, that's why I've based them on this rock here. And I did that by taking a piece of bark that's about the right size for a base and super gluing it on, and then super gluing the model on top of that. These make really convincing rocks. And then for the smaller ones I used some slate and super glued them around the outside. And then for the ground I used earth texture from Vallejo and just painted that right up to the edge of the base. And then I primed it with a light grey. For this technique to work I recommend using an airbrush to keep the colours smooth, but you could maybe do it with a brush. And first I take a black and start with the inside of the miniature and work my way out to the outsides and the top, just so I don't have the paint too thick. If you start with the hard areas on the inside and work your way out, then it's more likely to be less thick layering. So I cover the entire miniature and almost the whole base. Accidentally I kind of had a quite nice paint scheme for the base on this, so I covered most of the rock in black but not all of it, leaving a little bit of grey in the shadows. And then I took red and did a Zetaial highlight, which is spraying from above, and I did that to all of the miniatures, so from the top hitting most of the sides. And I did 2 coats of red for this. And as you can see, some of the grey is still showing through on the base, and I kind of liked how that ended up happening, so I kept it like that. I was going to initially paint it grey like a typical rock, but I thought this looked quite nice. So I decided to have this black and red theme going through the whole miniature. So when I paint things, I keep some of the red showing through in the shadows. So the first colour is silver. And this is a gunmetal silver, so a bit of a dark silver colour, and I painted the breastplate and the helmet, any armour, so on the legs, and also the weapons, so any spears. Then I took Stonewall Grey and used this colour for the skeleton. So I was trying a new technique here, which was not colouring the entire area but leaving some of the red to show through, so it has a uniform colour throughout the miniature. So you can see I'm just using the grey, the Stonewall Grey here to do the highlights. So in all the recesses I left the red colour, and I quite like how this turned out. It was quite a new technique for me. I think I'd seen it somewhere before, but yeah. And then I took gold and did the same technique. So instead of colouring in the whole chainmail, I just did the raised areas, so just the tips of the chainmail. And it actually speeds up painting time too, so you don't have to colour in the entire area and maybe later do some washes to bring back the shadows. When the gold's done, that's what it will look like. And the next area to do is probably the most detailed part of the miniature. It's the gold of the pattern on the shield. So just get a very fine brush and go around the pattern like this. Usually I'd use a yellow ochre to go under first for golds, just to make the gold shine a bit more, but because I'm trying to make that red and black show through more, I've just gone straight onto the gold. And that's what it will look like after you've done that. I didn't do the edges, I just left them red just to make it so there's not too much gold happening. And then I took some dark sand and beastly brown, 50-50, and I used that to make some brown on the spear handles. So again, I'm not covering the entire handle, I'm just doing some of the raised areas, leaving some of the red there. wash this later to make it a little more dark. And I also use that same color to do the straps, so I just highlight the edges of them, leave the red showing through the inside of the middle part. And also the holder for the dagger on his hip and belt as well. And the straps on his back as well. Next I took a lighter silver and did the highlights for the armor. So wherever the light would be hitting from above, I just did some strokes on top of his head and on top of the shoulder pads, any raised areas where you want to brighten up. And also the screws on the inside of the shield. Some tiny dots. Next I took null oil, and I used to use this quite a lot to just cover the entire miniature, but here I was doing it quite sparingly because I still want that red to show through, so I'm just using it to darken areas where I think it needs it. So in places like the holes of the armor and in creases of the armor, anywhere where you think needs some definition. So just light touches of this, and it worked out quite well. So as I was saying earlier, I was going to paint the base pretty typical grey stone coloured, but I ended up really liking it with the grey, black and the red. Having the grey kind of in the shadows and then the black on top of that and then the red as the highlights makes it feel quite ominous, I think, and ties it well with the red on the costume. Then I took Flesh Shade for washing of the spear handle, and you could do this on any of the browns on the straps if you wanted to as well. Just adds a little bit more shadow. So yeah, the base feels like it's kind of got a fiery glow, or it's from the underworld. I feel like reminds me of Elden Ring. I don't know if you guys have played that, but yeah, it's got a nice style to it, I think. And then that's the miniature done. So it's quite an easy one. And here I just blue tacked it to one of my paint bottles and coated the base black. So make sure you shake the paint really well for this, so it has a nice matte look. And I did 2 coats. And here's some photos of the finished results. It's quite a quick technique, I think. And if you want to see more photos like this, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Miniature Johnny. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.